Hello, everyone. This is the Seven Cities Journalist. I see I've gotten a lot of attention lately, and I've managed to avoid the view of the Vigiles Urbani, so I figured it would only be fair to share a bit about myself and who I am. Naturally, I won't disclose anything, but I hope that this is still good nonetheless, so people understand both who I am and what place I serve in all these stories that I share from the seven cities and the places beyond. I was born on January 31st, 2750 AUC per the Roman calendar, the 23rd of Shavat, 5757 per the Hebrew calendar, or on the 2,487,004th day on the Form's calendar. I was born within the Tejas province of the Kingdom of Vespucci. My mother, a single mother at a very young age, left, and I spent most of my life in the Empire of the Seven Cities, mostly within River City, though I've also lived in all of the other cities and even the Republic of Sunset, though my heart is always in the River City. It was there where I studied at San La Salle University. I learned about information technology. I know, ironic, but the skill comes in handy, even if I don't use it a lot for my day job. I also have taken plenty of other classes. History classes were always my favorite. Learning about all of the amazing things and all of the amazing people out in the world. However, when you are truly learning history, you also learn a lot about the horrors of the world. History will scare you, repulse you, and even disturb you if you try to understand it all. However, I was taught by my mother to not look away from things, even if they were frightening. So I pushed myself to learn and keep learning. And as I learned, I found many amazing people around me. People who were in impossible situations. People who fought against the weight of the world and they were winning. Heroes. And I don't mean that as they did good things kind of way. I mean that in a way that they seek to better themselves and the world around them. Oftentimes, they never even thought of themselves as heroes. They just thought that everyone else thought like them. They thought anyone else would have gone out of their way to comfort a crying friend, or that anyone would have bought a sandwich for someone going to their first job interview. They thought that anyone who was desperate enough to ask for help needed help. When I met people like that, the heroes of San LaSalle, I thought I would never amount to anything close to them. I was the quiet child who sat in class during my lessons and only allying for projects as a last resort. Secondary school was very bad for me. Bad enough that people I trusted, people I considered family, hurt me badly enough I never wanted to be hurt again. In secondary school, it was easier for me to see myself as the villain in every story. I wanted things to change. I wanted an end to my pain. I wanted to find a way to gain power and use that power to control the world, to end the pain of the world and make things fair for everyone. After all, I was a teenager, seeing all of the injustice of the world, and I thought it was going to be easy to fix. I had the answers, I just needed the power. Yeah, I went to secondary school in Agamemnon's Academy for accelerated apprenticeship. They encouraged seeking out power, and that power was the measure of how great a person was. There was no, the measure of a man is what he does with power. It was, greed is good. If your friends can't help you with your goals, they're not real friends, and everyone's troubles were their own fault. It was like a cold fog inside of me, and I hated myself so much, I figured that was what everyone was like. It wasn't until I was saved by a hero, someone I had written about a lot, who helped me inspire me to leave Agamemnon's, who inspired me to leave an abusive relationship, who made the world a bit safer for me to come out, did I find out I was happier. So much happier. San La Salle was practically heaven. Even if I wasn't able to make a lot of friends, I was included in social things. It was the first time I was told nice things. There was no stick behind their words, no dagger to plunge in my back, no bait, no lead up. I had a lot to unlearn, and I still do, but it was my first step. As I learned more and more history, I learned more and more about the heroes around me, and in my past, my mind went to an obvious part. Who watches the watchmen? Who heralds the harbingers? Who tells their tales? People who would often go without observation nor recognition. The kind of people who write down all the boring details very clearly in their journals and pages, who let the stories continue. In my final years at San Lasals, that is what I wanted to be. I would be the journalist, sharing the stories of the many heroes of the Seven Cities. There is value in the stories I share. There's many hidden battles every day, everywhere, dealt by everyone. People often feel alone, their view clouded by the veil, and they feel that they will always be alone. They think they are the only people who think bad things, even when they help others. They think they're the only ones who hurt when they come home from a long night, and no one even noticed is that they returned nor that they left. They think they're the only ones who wish that they could be a hero, that they could help people if it didn't feel like the world was engineered to force you to prioritize yourself. They think they're the only ones who feel terrible when they put everyone else first and no one cares about them. No one noticing, no one caring. Endless struggle pushing that rock up the hill with no end in sight. Well, I saw, I cared. And I wanted people to see these heroes and to see not just these heroes, but to see themselves in these heroes. To see someone facing the impossible, to see something that was never meant to be beaten, and yet to see the hero win. To get a respite from a world where the only way to succeed is to hurt others and to put yourself first in everything. That is why I call my articles the Hero Series. Some are obvious why there are heroes, others less so. It's easy to see how the Red Prince saving Tiffany is heroic. It's a lot harder to see why I would call a housekeeper refusing bloody gold heroic. Why is it heroic that someone struggling to make ends meet refused to take gold that came from the suffering of others? Why indeed is it heroic to see someone suffering who refuses to make others suffer? Why is it heroic to stop a cycle of pain and violence with yourself? Why is it heroic that Rosenblatt survived the Great War? Sure, he had power, but he didn't end the war. He barely made an impact. He was a fourth generation who fought in the same trench as his father, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. Why was it heroic he survived long enough to bring himself and his men back home, to be buried there instead of underneath a trench? Why is it heroic for someone to survive and escape an illusion that was so total that they thought being hurt was being loved? Why was it heroic for Ethan to escape his girlfriend? Why was it heroic for Ethan's brother to be told to die for his country, and instead he decided to live? Why was it heroic to face an unbeatable monster and just survive? I've been through many things in my life. I've saved my own life, the lives of others, some of them my friends, some of them my family, even a few of them were my enemies. Why? Because I was there. One of the hardest things to accept, even harder than accepting sometimes your best is never enough, is accepting the fact that sometimes the only victory you have is you survived. And that will need to be enough. You can escape a dangerous situation, and when you tell others, they will tell you what you should have done, or what they would have done, or how you deserved it in some way. People love to figure out why people who had bad things happen to them deserved it in some way. You shouldn't have upset him. You shouldn't have gone home late at night. You shouldn't have stopped for gas in Swamp City. You shouldn't have walked through the woods when the sun was setting. You shouldn't have wandered off. You shouldn't have been curious. You shouldn't have read that book. You shouldn't have trusted them. You shouldn't have tried to be friends with them. You shouldn't have tried to get out of that situation. You shouldn't have tried to get a new job. You shouldn't have tried to quit so soon. You shouldn't have done that thing that made you sick. You shouldn't have had parents like that. You shouldn't have had children like that. Sound familiar? Sound repetitive? Sound condescending? Don't worry, it only gets better. I would have known better. I would have waited till morning. I would have brought extra gas. I would have brought an extra flashlight. I would have stayed with my parents. I would have been perfectly happy not reading any book in the library. I would have never trusted them. I would never have friends like that. I would have stayed there until it got better. I would have stayed at my old job. I would have waited to quit. I would have just avoided anything that could make me sick. I would never have parents like that. My children would never be like that. And now, does that sound familiar? One of the hardest things about sharing what happened to you is people criticizing what happened, like it was a choice in a video game. People don't choose their monsters. People don't choose their curses. People don't choose their demons. People don't choose their hardships. Even if different choices could change what happened, that doesn't change the fact what happened, happened. What is my point in all of this? There's value in sharing these stories, listening to these stories and understanding them. Not just hear it and think, cool monster, cool hero. Think about what the story is about. Why was the story shared? Why do they want to share their story with the world? There is value in the story shared. Not just their stories, but even in the stories I share with you. I already told you I saved someone's life. So why do I avoid telling that and focus so much on the value of sharing a story without telling someone how you would do it better? Why am I sharing a story my way instead of doing it in a way you may think is better? It's a lot to process, I know, and it doesn't tell you much about who I am. But in a way, does it matter who I am? I enjoy raspberry iced tea. I enjoy warming my partner with cute texts. I love baking for my mother. I love spending time with my squishy and with my dearest friend. What are my goals? What is my end game? I want to eat brunch with my family every Sunday. I want to play video games. I want to play role-playing games with my friends. And I want to tell these stories. My goal is a happy life, and this makes me happy to share these stories, to remind people that even in the darkest of days, that there's still hope and still heroes. I think that's the thing I want everyone to take from my stories. Yes, there's evil, there's darkness, there's monsters. There's also love, there's light, there's heroes. Even when things are bad, there's still joy and they're still good. It's better to enjoy these things to give you the light in the darkness. I know I have brought light to many people's lives, and so have you. Just by being you. Just doing what you love, and by doing your best, you have made people's lives better. You are a part of the Hero series. Even if your story is never told, you have made things better. You matter, and you are a hero. The oldest story tells that the monsters of the world were fought before, and that the heroes once won. Even if the monsters win in the future, the heroes will rise to fight them again, and they will be defeated. Even if a victory is just survival, even your darkest of monsters can be defeated by the heroes.